The one Indian state that's had the longest and most consistent presence at the World Economic Forum in Davos was unified Andhra Pradesh, the baton later carried forward by Telangana. Now, of course, at the promenade, an intense competition amongst more than half a dozen Indian states in trying to pull investment to their destinations. And the man trying to hold Telangana and Hyderabad's flag here is KT Rama Rao. He's a Davos veteran with a packed calendar, managed to squeeze in this conversation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you very much.
We're seeing now intense competition, from states like Maharashtra, states like Madhya Pradesh, states like Tamil Nadu, wanting to pull investment away. And Andhra Pradesh earlier and Telangana were the original Davos stars from amongst the Indian states.
Sure.
Are you beginning to feel the pinch and the pressure?
The first thing I'll tell you is, I think when you're in Davos in the World Economic Forum, firstly, it's about networking. Firstly, it's about mingling, talking, and of course, projecting your state in the right light and playing to your strengths. But most important thing to understand is there are countries vying for investment. I think we are all trying to bring investment back to India. Within India, of course, there are 28 different gateways into India, 28 different states. So therefore, each of us, when a company or when an institution is looking at India with intent, I think each of us is trying to attract the attention and telling the world about our strengths, about our opportunities, about the opportunities we present, and that's what we've been doing. But the competition is not so much among Indian states as it is among global destinations. So, for instance, Hyderabad is not just competing with Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu or some other, Telangana is not just competing with other states, but also other countries. So, I think it's a good thing for India because stronger the states, stronger the country. Ultimately, we're a union of states. So, therefore, I think the more investment that comes to India, the better it is.
So, you've made a big splash at the World Economic Forum, but people wondering what are the actual tangible takeaways? What is it that you take back to your state from here?
Well, Rahul, two things that people need to understand about sales cycles and investment pitches. Investment decisions are not made ad hoc or overnight. They take time. You have to build relations, you have to consolidate them, you have to create an intent and understand the other party's perspective as well. So they don't get, these kind of decisions or relationships don't get made overnight, but nonetheless, this time around, we've had significant investments being announced and a significant number of MOUs being signed. But most important thing for people to understand back home is when you create a splash, create an interest among all these global investors, and when they start looking at India, the first thing that pops up would be your state. So therefore, it's a process. It's a continuous process. It's a pursuit of investments is not something that is, like a knee-jerk reaction. It has to be consistent. You have to be consistently there in the mind space.
So Chandrababu Naidu was the original Davos star. Then you came in and took the baton over from him in some senses. Now I have been seeing Jagan Reddy here as well. He's pushing. And the two young boys from the erstwhile Andhra Pradesh both trying to pull investment towards their state. Is there a sense of healthy or unhealthy competition?
No. In fact, like I said, each of us play to our strengths. See, for instance, Andhra is a state with a large coastal line, and I wish them the very best in terms of attracting investments in sectors where I possibly cannot compete with them. We are a landlocked state. So therefore, there are areas, there are strengths, there are opportunities in each state which are unique. So therefore, there's no competition as such, but of course, each state is vying to build up, its own investment ecosystem and create employment opportunities, etc. So yes, in that sense, maybe yes, but I think on the whole, I think the message that all of us back home in India need to understand is that stronger the states, the stronger the country. So I think it's a great theme that about 6 Indian states are vying, competing in terms of opportunities, in terms of investments. I think it's a great thing for India.
You've been trying to build Hyderabad and the areas around Hyderabad as a hub for the 4th Industrial Revolution and Web 3.0. How has that gone? I mean, I was at one of your sessions where you were talking about deep learning, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and people would wonder how much of these ideas are translating into action on the ground.
Rahul, in fact, there was a time about 2 decades ago when India was a back office, when people only looked at India for BPO and KPO kind of work. But now, after India's tech prowess has been established, I think what has happened is a lot of interest in all emerging technologies is taking the world by storm, and India continues to be an epicenter of that. And within India, I think Telangana and Hyderabad are important centers, because in Hyderabad we have, I am not sure if you're familiar, but World's largest Amazon campus is in Hyderabad. Second largest campuses of Google, Facebook, Apple, Uber, Salesforce, Micron, Novartis, Medtronic, I can go on, the list is huge, are all in Hyderabad. So goes to show you that the ecosystem is strong. And when the ecosystem is strong, when the tech prowess is already established, I think what is logical extension of that is the new and emerging sectors like Web3, like the ones you mentioned, AI, ML. Now, I think Web3 and crypto, these are two areas where the government of India, of course, has its own viewpoint. There are regulatory concerns. What we are trying to do is basically position ourselves as a hub in all the emerging technologies. For instance, in drones, robotics, cybersecurity, we already have well laid out policies. And most importantly, I think we also have been able to establish a first mover sort of advantage. So I think it.
But all the tech majors you mentioned have their India offices. But if you look at where
that is the second largest base in the world.
Wealth creation is happening, most of these unicorns that pop up either seem to be coming largely from Bengaluru and some now from Gurgaon.
Sure.
So why is it that Hyderabad's not producing in the same frequency and intensity genuine wealth creators who burst into the national limelight?
I think it'll happen, but
what's held it back so far? Like, how do you assess
I would say the VC ecosystem is not as strong as it is, say, in the NCR or Bangalore. I think one of the constraints is that, but now we see a lot more interest happening on the 28th of June. In fact, we're launching the world's largest tech incubator in Hyderabad, called as the T-Hub. I would, of course, invite you. We are also, again, setting up a specific dedicated floor space for some of the largest VCs in India. So I think it's one of those things where the youngsters are there, the young startups are there, the intent is there, but it has to translate. Yesterday, I had a long meeting with Sequoia. I was telling them the same thing, that, you ought to be there physically to be able to assess and understand the prospects. So I hope it'll start turning. Right
Does
now,
that rankle you as somebody who's so passionate about tech, all things to do with tech, the fact that genuine heroes of the startup ecosystem are actually popping up elsewhere and not on your watch?
No, I'll put it this way. In fact, do I wish for more unicorns from my state? Of course, yes. Does it rankle me? No, because I think each of us in the learning growth curve and learning curve are at different points. Bangalore has always had a first mover advantage. They've started like 15 years before us. So therefore, we are literally playing catch up. And in the last few years and few quarters, we have beaten them on office space absorption. So in the sense, the ecosystem has been expanding. And when it expands, the unicorns will come. They are a byproduct of the ecosystem. They are not the epicenter of the ecosystem. So I think I have 800,000 people working in IT now in Hyderabad. My IT exports are growing, better than the national average. So I think it's only a logical, extension eventually that we have 4 unicorns now from Hyderabad. We'll have more.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.